The WNBA can't seem to escape the drama. And this time, it's not a foul, not a fight, but a microphone. Sophie Cunningham, one of the league's most outspoken voices, just lit a fire under the entire Indiana Fever fan base after making a few simple comments about Caitlin Clark. But now, social media is in meltdown mode, and the hate coming her way isn't just from trolls or rival fan bases.
I think what Sophie Cunningham is saying here about the Indiana Fever offense should be obvious. This should be how it is. If you're a Caitlin Clark, if you're a LeBron James, your system should, your basketball offensive system should run through that superstar. And Sophie Cunningham has come out and said such, and says that it was running through her. I guess when she was on the court. Now, we saw a few times where it looked like it was actually running through her, but we also saw times where it looked like it absolutely was not.
It's coming from inside her own house. Yeah, that's right. Fever fans and even a handful of Clark supporters are suddenly turning on Sophie Cunningham for saying something that, honestly, most people already know. If you've got a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, your entire offense should run through her. Period. End of story. But somehow, that truth, that obvious basketball 101 reality, has turned into a full-blown controversy. Tweets calling her a clout chaser, fans saying she's too loud.
She was playing off the ball way too much. But what has surprised me about these comments is Sophie Cunningham is getting attacked. What? Why is this happening? And unfortunately, she's getting attacked from the haters and from some Caitlin Clark fans. Some Caitlin Clark fans. I don't know why. Some Caitlin Clark fans are saying, well, she shouldn't even say this out loud. And I'm like, but Sophie was on the team and knows what's going on. Everybody's got to ask for permission.
Some even accusing her of exposing the locker room, all because she dared to say that Caitlin Clark, like LeBron James, like every great player who's ever stepped on the court, deserves control of her own system. Let's be real for a second. Sophie didn't insult Clark. She praised her. She literally compared her to LeBron. And yet somehow, she's the villain now? This is the classic WNBA cycle. Someone speaks up, tells the truth, and suddenly they're problematic. But here's the twist. Sophie Cunningham isn't some outsider running her mouth. She's in the locker room. She's on the court.
I don't get that. I really don't. I think she's just stating something that we can all see with our own eyes if we're paying attention at all. But I think there is, and I've noticed this, there is a small group of Caitlin Clark fans and a small group of Indiana Fever fans that are anti-Sophie Cunningham fans. By the way, they're part of the old WNBA fandom too, all right? I'm just pointing that out. And a lot of you fans know exactly what kind of fans.
She's living this. So why are people acting like she's crossed a sacred line? This isn't just about a podcast comment. It's about the growing divide between old school WNBA culture and this new era that Caitlin Clark represents. And Sophie, she's caught right in the middle, because when truth meets tension, in the W, someone always pays the price. Let's rewind for a second, because this whole storm didn't come out of nowhere. Sophie Cunningham wasn't sitting on a random podcast trash-talking teammates. She was having a thoughtful conversation.
And then some just hate her because, well, for lack of a better way of putting it, Sophie's white and she's hot. I'm just being real. I'm just being real. So we're going to look at some of the hate. We're going to listen to the comments and then look at some of these attacks.
The Caitlin or like a healthy LeBron, wherever they go, that team will probably be above 500.
Yep. But
is that fair to say?
Yes, but I think that the reason behind that is because those types of athletes, they get to come into an organization, they have the green light, and they can do whatever they want.
About basketball, about systems, about what it means to have a generational player like Caitlin Clark on your team. And what did she say that caused this massive meltdown? She said that when you have someone like Clark, and Sophie didn't say that to stir the pot, she said it to highlight the disconnect in how the Fever were being run. That's where the internet lost its mind. Fever fans jumped into her comments calling her self-centered, disloyal, attention-seeking. Some even claim she was exposing team business, as if acknowledging Caitlin Clark's obvious influence on the offense was some kind of betrayal.
Where that is very rare to get drafted and be able to control the whole system.
Was CeCe making decisions?
As she should.
No way.
As she should, but I also think that go ahead.
That's crazy. I didn't realize that. She's just young. I just didn't think that.
But when you have a generational talent like that, she should have a lot to say of the system. I also think when you have
the Caitlin or like a healthy LeBron, wherever they go.
Okay, so you heard it.
Meanwhile, others argued she was using Caitlyn for clout, ignoring the fact that Sophie has been one of Clark's loudest defenders all season, literally the only one who physically stepped up when players took cheap shots at her. Think about that. The same woman who stood up for Caitlyn on the court is now being attacked for standing up for her in a conversation. But this isn't just about what Sophie said, it's about who's saying it and what it represents. Because Sophie Cunningham embodies a rare thing in today's WNBA. An unapologetic, confident player who doesn't filter her thoughts for social media approval. And in a league where image often trumps honesty, that's becoming dangerous. So let's break this down, because Sophie Cunningham didn't just say something controversial. She hit a nerve that's been throbbing in the WNBA all season. Here's the truth. Caitlyn Clark isn't just another #1 draft pick. She's a phenomenon. She changed the way people talk about women's basketball. And with that comes a massive shift in power, not just in the locker room, but across the entire league. When Sophie said the Fever's system should run through Clark, she wasn't inventing drama. She was describing reality. But for a lot of players and fans, that reality is uncomfortable. Why? Because it exposes something nobody wants to say out loud. Caitlyn Clark's arrival restructured the hierarchy. Overnight, a rookie became the most talked about, most influential player in the WNBA. And that doesn't just shake up opponents, it shakes up her own team. Veterans who've spent years grinding without the spotlight suddenly have to adjust to a new dynamic where everything, the offense, the media, the fan base, revolves around a 22-year-old. Even if she's earned it, that's still hard to swallow. So when Sophie, someone inside that locker room, openly acknowledges that Clark should control the system, she's essentially confirming what others are too nervous to say. And that's why the backlash is so emotional. It's not really about what she said, it's about what her words represent. They represent a shift in power. They represent a new era where superstars aren't just players, they're brands, and the game itself has to evolve around them. And that's threatening for anyone who feels left behind. But here's the kicker. Sophie wasn't tearing anyone down. She was giving credit where it's due. She called Caitlyn a generational talent, even compared her to LeBron James. And somehow, that's the problem? The fact that honesty in this league now equals controversy says more about the culture than it does about Sophie Cunningham. This isn't a feud, it's a mirror, showing us exactly how divided WNBA fandom has become. When the story hit social media, it was like throwing gasoline on an already burning fire. Within hours, X and Instagram were flooded with takes, half defending Sophie Cunningham, half dragging her name through the mud. It wasn't just a disagreement, it was a civil war within the Fever fan base. One side shouted, "Finally! Someone's saying what we're all thinking." The other side fired back, "She's clout chasing, she's exposing the locker room, she needs to shut up." But let's be honest, this wasn't about the quote itself. This was about what Sophie represents. She's not the polished PR perfect player the league loves to promote. She's outspoken, fiery, confident, and yeah, unapologetically herself. And that's exactly why she's polarizing. See, Sophie's not afraid to talk about things most players tiptoe around. She'll go on her podcast and speak from experience, not a script. That's refreshing to some, but to others, it's a threat. Especially in a league still learning how to handle massive attention, new fans, and a level of scrutiny it's never seen before. Then came the hate. Comments calling her annoying, attention-seeking, a distraction. People saying she brought heat to Caitlyn Clark, as if Clark needs protecting from support. Some even questioned if Sophie should be back next season, as if honesty somehow makes you unfit to wear a Fever jersey. But here's the irony. This is the same Sophie who physically defended Caitlyn Clark on the court when no one else did. She was the one who stood up when Clark got shoved, tripped, elbowed, and targeted. And now? Those same fans are turning on her because she dared to talk about what's happening in plain sight. This backlash isn't just emotional, it's cultural. There's a growing divide between the old WNBA guard and the Caitlyn Clark era, and Sophie, standing in between those two worlds, has become the perfect scapegoat. But Caitlin isn't just scoring points. She's controlling the flow, dictating tempo, and forcing opponents to adjust literally every possession. That's generational talent. That's the kind of player who transforms a team overnight. But here's the kicker. The Fever aren't fully built around her yet. There are moments when the system works through Caitlin, moments when she's clearly the focal point. And then there are times when the offense stalls, leaving her on the perimeter, waiting for a pass, watching opportunities slip by. Sophie noticed this, and she's not afraid to say it. That observation doesn't weaken Clark. It highlights her importance. It's like saying, we can be unstoppable if we let Caitlin be Caitlin. And that's a bold statement, because acknowledging the truth often shakes people's comfort zones. Now add to that Sophie's personality. Outspoken, fearless, unapologetic, and you've got the perfect storm. She's a player who physically protects Clark, who defends her on and off the court. And yet she's also the one receiving criticism for speaking honestly about team dynamics. And that's where it gets messy. Fans want their heroes untouchable, their locker rooms immaculate, their superstars protected from truth. But Sophie Cunningham refuses to sanitize reality for social media consumption. She doesn't tiptoe around sensitive topics. She names what she sees. It also exposes a subtle but persistent bias in women's basketball culture. Players who are confident, white, outspoken, and attractive often face disproportionate scrutiny for the exact same behaviors that male athletes are praised for. When LeBron James runs an offense, nobody calls him clout chasing. When Caitlin Clark excels, nobody questions her leadership. But when Sophie says what everyone sees, instant backlash. This moment isn't just Sophie versus fans. It's a reflection of a league grappling with its own identity, its evolving hierarchy, and its relationship with truth-tellers. And Sophie, whether she wants it or not, is at the center, the catalyst forcing the Fever and the WNBA to confront uncomfortable realities. Here's where it gets real. This isn't just a Sophie Cunningham story. It's a mirror reflecting the WNBA's evolving culture, the fan dynamics, and the challenges of managing generational talent. Caitlin Clark is more than a player. She's a movement. Her presence demands attention, changes strategies, and shifts power structures within teams. And Sophie Cunningham? She's the loudspeaker highlighting that shift. Fans may hate it, but it's exactly what the league needs. Honest, unfiltered commentary from someone who's been in the trenches. This controversy exposes an uncomfortable truth. The WNBA is still figuring out how to handle superstars. When a player like Clark arrives, the entire ecosystem, coaches, teammates, fans, media, has to adapt. Some embrace it, some resist, and some, unfortunately, lash out at the messenger.
Sophie's experience also speaks to a bigger issue: accountability versus idolization. Fans want to celebrate their heroes, but when someone tells the truth about them, suddenly it's a crime.
This isn't unique to women's basketball, but the WNBA is smaller, more intimate, and the reactions hit harder. Every comment, every observation is scrutinized. There's also a social layer to consider. Outspoken women athletes face a double standard. They're expected to perform, defend teammates, and speak with insight, but only within limits. Cross those invisible lines and they risk backlash. Sophie Cunningham is walking that line every time she opens her mouth, and that makes her both courageous and controversial. But here's the silver lining. Moments like these spark conversations. They force fans to think critically about team dynamics, player roles, and the nature of leadership in sports. They force the WNBA itself to confront its own identity. Will it encourage honesty, growth, and open dialogue? Or will it reward silence and conformity? And make no mistake, what happens with Sophie Cunningham's comments echoes far beyond the Fever. It shapes how future players will communicate, how fans react, and how superstars like Caitlin Clark are protected or criticized. This isn't just about one podcast clip. It's about the culture of the league, the evolution of women's basketball, and the courage it takes to speak truth in the face of mass scrutiny. So where does this leave us? Sophie Cunningham said something that should have been obvious. When you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, the system should run through her. Simple basketball logic, yet somehow it became a lightning rod for drama, hate, and endless debate across the WNBA universe. Let's be real. Sophie didn't attack anyone. She didn't belittle Clark. She didn't create chaos for clout. She simply told the truth as she saw it, from experience, from inside the Fever's locker room, from someone who lives and breathes this game. And yes, that truth hurt some people's feelings. Fans who don't want their heroes scrutinized. Critics who can't handle outspoken women. Those stuck in the old WNBA culture who think honesty equals disloyalty. But here's the thing. This is bigger than Sophie. It's about the culture of the league itself. Why is praise sometimes treated like an attack? Why do outspoken women athletes face criticism that men never do? At the end of the day, Sophie's words highlight a truth we can't ignore. The WNBA is growing, evolving, and redefining itself. Generational talents like Caitlin Clark are shaping the future of the league, and outspoken players like Sophie Cunningham are the mirrors reflecting both brilliance and friction. So, whether you love Sophie or hate her, respect her or roll your eyes, here's what's undeniable. She's saying the things most people are thinking but too afraid to say. And that, my friends, is exactly why the WNBA is more exciting and more complicated than ever. So, what do you think? Was Sophie right to speak her truth? Is this a case of overreacting fans, or is there something deeper going on with the Fever and the league? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear every opinion. And don't forget, hit that like button if you want more no-holds-barred WNBA breakdowns. Subscribe for the truth, the drama, and everything in between, right here on Her Hoops. Because in women's basketball, the game isn't just on the court. It's everywhere the conversation takes us. And trust me, this conversation isn't over.